Hello all and welcome to Astro Wheel of Fortune. So this reading is all about who you were in your past life. We're going to have a look and see, the most important past life might pop up or the most recent, and we'll see, we'll gauge it as we go. So we've got the 6 piles here. We've got pile 1, pile 2, pile 3, pile 4, pile 5 and pile 6. So if you just pick one of these piles to see who you were in your past life, try and pick with your intuition rather than optically, and I'll see you at your pile. So pile 1, let's see, who were you in your past life? We've got 3 of Cups. We've got the World in reverse. We've got win or lose, which is the Ace of Swords. Sorry, I read these up right always. We've got third eye chakra. So what I'm getting here so far, we'll have a look at your tarot cards, or sorry, the oracle cards as well. But so far, I see that you were kind of like a party person. You enjoyed a really social life. You were kind of like a socialite. You enjoyed partying and celebrating with people that you knew. But I see it almost feels like you didn't reach maturity in your past life. So I think you might have died very young. I'm thinking 20s. I think you were extremely clever. People found you funny and engaging, and people just wanted to be around you in general in your past life. I think you had this aura. Your third eye chakra was very open in your past life. It played a big role in your past life. So I think you were at the same time very intuitive and very engaging in that way as well. So it's not that you were just clever, but you were also intuitive. And you knew what was good for you, you knew what wasn't good for you. But really, it's almost like you didn't get to the mature part of your life where you learned more lessons. It's almost like you only got to live that part of your life where you partied and had fun, and socialized a lot and were a social butterfly. I think as well you had a bit of people didn't want to mess with you because I'm getting the sense that you could retaliate, and you were very good at verbally attacking people. Not necessarily in a bad way, but that you were good at snapping at people back. So I do get a sense that you were like a celebrity, almost like a young celebrity that died before their time, almost. Like, I feel like people talked about you as if like, God, they really died before their time. They didn't, the work that this person did. I know, like a celebrity, or I feel like you were well known around where you were from. You were well known. People knew who you were. People wanted to be around you. Let's see what else we can see here. So we've got Mother Mary, love and peace. Let go of the need to be right. Choose peace. Mother, healing is possible at this time. So I think you were a female. I'm definitely getting a lot of female energy here. So I think you were a female. You were a woman. I think a lot of people, you could have literally been a mother as well. So even though you were young, you could have also been a mother. You could have had kids. But I also get the sense that people came to you for advice. People really trusted you. I do get the sense that people just knew that you were smart, that you were clever, but you also had this nurturing energy. And I feel like people knew about you, and the fact that you were able to give this really good advice and help people. Then we have the butterfly ferrets. I am reborn. So quite literally, I think this card kind of indicates to me that this was your past life, just the most recent past life that we're talking about here right now. So if you ever have any like dreams, weird dreams about being like well known and people know you wherever you go, and also being very clever and being at a lot of parties, in dancing, enjoying your life. That could be memories, distant memories from your past life. I'm also getting a sense that um, the way that you live your life now is completely different to the way you lived your life in your past life. So you completely transformed, like this death, whatever happened, you died in your very early 20s in your past life. And this death, that was the transformation that pushed you into a new cycle and a new life. Um, and a new space, that you completely changed how you operate. It caused you to completely transform. So whatever you do in this lifetime, I feel like you could be a lot more private. I feel like you could even be a lot more of like an introvert, because you've lived that party animal lifestyle. And I feel like almost this party animal lifestyle almost kind of caused you to die this early. And in this lifetime, you might really have an aversion to even going out drinking and partying. You could have an I feel like you've a really strong connection with animals in this life. um and your past, like, I feel like you almost sense your past life as something traumatic, not because your actual life was traumatic, but I think your death was so traumatic in your past life. The way you died in your past life seems to be um like a very traumatic event. It wasn't natural causes, obviously. If you were young, it wasn't like, I feel like it was a really bad accident. Like, it could have been like even an overdose, or like overdoing it on drinking and like getting, drink driving or something like that. I'm getting that kind of sense. It was something that was very tragic for everyone involved. So let's see what else we have here. We've got sixth house routine. And we've got Aquarius. I know. So in your past life, you could have been an Aquarius or a Virgo. But you also, I think, routine. So there was something that you did in your past life that was constant and happened like clockwork. So you went and you did this thing on and on and on. I think you could have even been like a journalist. I'm getting the sense that you could have been like a journalist, a columnist, and you had to spend a lot of time around parties and almost like spying on people, and getting to know people. You had a lot of friends, that's for sure, because Aquarius looks after friends and community, and your community knew you really well, and you were very, very clued in your community, like, but you were also very admired, and people really looked up to you at the same time. Um, so I do get the sense that there's something that you did routinely. So you could have been a very fit person at the same time in terms of like exercise. I am getting a sense that you were a little bit unhealthy with all this partying, but you could have been looking after your body, as in you would exercise routinely, or you did something that was almost like obsessive, that you had to do all the time and constantly do it. Um, so yeah, so definitely you had a lot of friends. I think you were a female. I think that you died before kind of going into more mature stage in your life. So I think around 20s, maybe early 30s, that you passed away, you died. And it was quite a tragic death for everyone involved. Nobody expected. It was shocking. It came out of nowhere. And I think in this lifetime, you still feel that remnant, the remaining kind of particles of your past life are still sometimes present in your current life. So that's what I have for you guys. Pile number one. That was really interesting. And I'm going to move on to my next pile. So pile number two. Let's see. Who were you in your past life? So we've got the King of Cups in reverse. We've got the Two of Wands in reverse. We've got Listen, which is the High Priestess. And we've got Release, which is the Death card. Interesting. So the Death card, I feel like it signifies death in this scenario, because I'm kind of, but also just I'll get into it now. So basically, I am definitely getting, it's not just because this says the King of Cups, but this card usually makes me think of somebody looking over a kingdom. And I think you were some sort of king. We'll get an indication of gender in a bit, but I'm leaning more so towards male at the moment. I think you were a king. I think you were actually, I think you were not a very fair king. I don't think you were a very good king. I think you had a very sensitive ego. You were very sensitive in general. I think you were quite emotionally unstable, and you didn't know how to rule your kingdom. You didn't know how to look after your people. I think there wasn't a lot of potential in you as a king in general. You could have been a king, but you could have also been a politician. Like, I'm not getting a real sense of time here yet. We'll see if we get any other indication, but I think you were some sort of politician or a king, and you didn't really know where to go with your rulership, or your presidency if you're a president. You didn't know where to go or how to do it. It's almost like you wanted to become king. I'm gonna keep saying king, but it can be politician. It's almost like you've always wanted to be king. I think you wanted. It's almost like you had this really good knowledge. You had really good knowledge of how to rule and how to make the place that you were ruling prosperous. You were really clued in. You were very wise. You were very smart. But in reality, that's not how people operated. It's almost like you were so much higher in the way that you perceived. It's almost like you had this dystopia in your mind. And you wanted to create that within your rulership, but it wasn't working because people don't work that way, and it made you very upset. And I think you retrieved a lot, and you became very inaccessible to your people. I think your people wouldn't have been able to access you at all, talk to you, nothing like that. So I'm getting the sense that you were a very smart person, you were a very clever person, but it's almost like you had more of an inner knowing and inner understanding rather than practically putting ideas into place. It's like you were able to philosophize, but you were not able to put it into something practical. And as a result, your ego got hurt, you became very sensitive, and it wasn't to your advantage. I do have a feeling that you were either assassinated or overthrown. You were somebody that got killed by the public. I'm kind of saying it's almost like killed by your kingdom, or you got killed by people that realized that you weren't able to do this job. So let's see what else so definitely male energy, as I said, but I think you didn't get, so I think I do get a sense that it was like a murder. So we've got higher learning. You have learned from experience. More inner study is now required to further progress. So it's almost like only when you started becoming more wisdomous and you started looking into why you were such a bad ruler, other people almost noticed that you had new ideas and you wanted to do something new and move on with your ideas, and they decided to get rid of you. I'm definitely getting male energy overwhelmingly here, but I think you didn't. The good news is, like, well, I don't know if it's good or bad, but the fact here, or the kind of what's coming through here, is that you were able to lead a life up into your older years, so into your until you were an older man in your past life, that you weren't assassinated or killed or overthrown until then, and you got to live a pretty full life in the end. So then we've got the delicate fairy and her ferrets. Change is natural good, and yes, it can hurt. So again, the delicate fairy makes me think that you were an extremely sensitive man in your past life. Sensitivity was very much heightened for you. You really took to heart what people said to you. I feel like you were even slightly psychic. There's a lot of very psychic cards here. So then we've got Venus, love. I think you may have been kind of like you fell in love easily as well, because the King of Cups in reverse makes me think of that as well. I feel like you put a lot of women on a pedestal, and you worshipped a lot of women almost, and you had a lot of interest. Actually, it doesn't even have to be women. I think it could have been any sex, but I think you fell in love very easily, and you were kind of a bit of a romantic, and it's almost like politics and ruling wasn't for you. You were a romantic. I feel like you were, it's almost like you had this potential to be a King of Cups upright, but you ended up being a King of Cups in reverse, because you found yourself in a situation that didn't suit your personality at all. So then we've got Sun, Spirit. So you could have been a Taurus. So you could have been a water sign, so Cancer, Pisces, or Scorpio. I think this is more pertaining to the fact that you were a romantic. I feel like you were even artistic. You wrote poetry. You had a really fun spirit as well. I feel like you enjoyed a party. And I think it's almost like when you first started ruling, people put a lot of trust in you, and they were really excited for you to rule. But something along the road, something went wrong. And then we have the ninth house, faith. So I think, and again, I'm getting the sense from the high priestess as well. I think you were very into your religion. You were very into religion. You were very into spirituality, learning about spirituality, and expanding your view of spirituality in general. It meant a lot to you. And I just found this other card. So we've got awaiting results, the Seven of Pentacles. It's almost, I think I'm getting a sense of frustration here. It's like you tried to be a good ruler. It's like you tried to be a good person, but whatever effort you were putting in, you weren't seeing the results, and it made you frustrated. And before letting the hard work kind of pushing through and kind of trying to work harder and harder and harder and keep going to see the results further down the line, you would give up, and you'd get angry, and you'd get angry at your people, and you'd get angry at like your whatever they're called, like advisors. But there's a real sense of growth at the same time. I feel like through your lifetime, you learned to curb this sensitivity and curb this ego that you have, or you had in your past life. And I feel like in this life, you work on yourself a lot harder, and you make sure to work on your ego a lot more than you did in your in your past life. You try to make sure that your ego doesn't stand in the way of you achieving things, and you work harder at things than you did in your past life. So that's what I have for you guys. Pile number 2, that was a really interesting pile. I'm going to move on to my next pile, and I'll see you guys in my next video. So pile 3, let's see who were you in your past life. We've got Temperance, we've got Judgment. Wow. We've got Clarity of Belief. Clarity of Belief. That's the Ace of Swords. And we've got Moving On, Eight of Cups. There's a lot of moving on and letting things go in this spread. So I think in your past life, I'm not getting a strong sense of, if you were a male, female. But what I'm getting here is that you had to leave something behind. I feel like in your past life, this past life that's coming through here, you had to be very, very patient. You had to really, I feel like you were an extremely spiritual person in your past life, extremely spiritual. And you had a lot of patience for others. You had a lot of time for others. You wanted to help people. But I, at the same time, I'm getting the sense they were extremely intelligent. You had a lot to say. I feel like you could have been a writer or a speaker. I'm really getting, especially with her trumpet here, coming from the sky. I feel like a lot of people listened to what you had to say. They found you very balanced. They found what you had to say really interesting, really enlightening. I think you were able to show people a really good path a lot of the time. I am getting this sense of somebody who is almost like a therapist to other people, but it's almost like you could have been even a therapist to the masses. The way you spoke on, it could be that you were just a therapist or whatever the version of a therapist was at the time. But it could also be that you, like, there seems to be this grand spirit here. And I do see that when you died in your past life, your soul, um it's almost like your soul still wants to hold on to this past life, because I feel like you advanced a lot in this past life. So whether you realize it or not, you achieved a lot in this past life that we're talking about here. But you also left a lot behind you. I feel like you had a lot going for you, but for whatever reason, you knew that you had to be smart and you knew you had to leave something behind. Um, you had to be honest about something. I'm just hearing that as well now. It's almost like there was something that was slightly hidden. There was something that people didn't realize was going on, and you lifted that veil and you spoke about it, and people trusted you a lot since you spoke about it, because you were so honest about it and you were not afraid of anyone above you to lift that veil and expose. So you could have been working for like a company that was doing shady stuff. You could have been working for the government and they were doing something shady, and you exposed them. You exposed the truth, and it caused a lot of people to look up to you and to trust you and to see you as this role model almost. And in because of this integrity and this truth and this honor, in return you had to leave a lot behind because you knew it was one or the other. So then we've got Lady Venus, downloads and understanding. Do you know what? This makes so much sense to me now. I was really getting it was very hard to gauge like who you were or what was going on. I feel like in your past life you weren't even on Earth. I think this was like an alien past life. Another thing that I'm getting here all of a sudden is downloads and understanding. I am getting the sense that your soul made a conscious choice when you died in this realm, on this planet as an alien. You decided that it was time to leave. And you could have been an alien, and you were an alien in another sphere, and that life was your last life in that sphere. And I get a very strong sense that this is the first life you've had on Earth. I feel like you're a little alien soul. You might find it very difficult to connect to people in this lifetime, to truly connect with people, to truly understand humans, because this is the lesson that you're learning in this current life. Because I strongly, strongly feel this is really, this card makes a lot of sense to me. I strongly feel that you were a little alien, that decided to leave their alien life behind, that you've advanced as far as you could advance in that realm, and you've moved on to human life because it was time to. And I think you're a light bringer, you're a healer, and you've been brought onto this earth to heal people and to help people raise, for to help raise the vibration of earth, because I feel like you're very high vibrational even in this. I think you came from a very high vibrational place. Your past life, you came from a very high vibrational realm. I'm sensing that like you are you have a very pure, this pal has a very pure aura to me right now. So then we have Artemis of the Forest. Now you are independent and free. This card always reminds me of like somebody who's almost like an animal whisperer. And I think you have a very strong connection to animals, because it's almost like it's easier for you to communicate with animals. and understand animals and empathize. I wouldn't say even empathize, but like connect with animals than it is with humans. So I feel like you spend a lot of time with animals in your current lifetime, and I think you had a good connection with animals in that realm where you lived as an alien. Excuse me. I think that's why I'm really struggling to put this into perspective, because it's like we don't actually know what alien life is like for certain. We don't know how other realms look, but I think that's where you came from. I have a strong sense that that's where you came from. And I also get a sense that you used to live by the sea, or some sort of beach or the sea, and you used to really like to spend a lot of time there, because we're getting sea imagery here, we get kind of sea imagery here. I'm really getting that strongly. So then we've got Leo, I will, and we've got lunar eclipse change. You've completely changed. When you died in that other realm, you decided to completely change your course and move on to Earth. And that's why you're here. With Leo, I see that you were extremely confident, you were extremely giving. You radiated confidence and this, pure understanding that you were good enough the way you were. It also could mean that you were a Leo, or that you were a Leo, and this is a confirmation that you picked the right pile. But I definitely think that in this lifetime, you are learning how to be a healer. You are learning how to raise the vibration of Earth, of your surroundings, and I feel like you're very good at it. So that's what I have for you guys. Pile number 3. That was really interesting. Let me know if that resonated, and I'm going to move on to my next pile. So we got pile number 4. Let's see. Who were you in your past life? 2 of Cups in reverse, Queen of Wands. We've got 5 of Cups, change your focus. And we've got 9, Seek, and that's the Hermit. Interesting. So I think, okay, let me think. I am definitely seeing a storyline here. I'm definitely seeing that you were in some sort of relationship that didn't work out for you at all. I think that you were a female. I'm getting strong female vibes from this pile, and I'm getting strong heart chakra vibes from this pile, and I'll get into this now. So I think that in your past life, you were in a relationship that was going nowhere. You were not happy in it. You were not enjoying being in it. It could have been a very old-fashioned type of relationship where, were forced to be a housewife. You were forced to be, the classic woman role, assume the mother role or the housewife role, and you were not happy in it because you were this independent person. You were this independent woman who wanted to go after her dreams. You had your own ambitions. You had your own interests, things that you want to chase in life. I think you left this person behind, and I'm even getting a sense with this kind of like, see the way she's in a garden or a forest. I get a feeling that you ran away from your husband. You literally ran away from him. I'm getting this sense of like disguising yourself, even almost. You hid and ran from your husband. They could have even been abusive to you, but I see that you didn't stand for it. You were not a submissive type of wife. You were very strong, ambitious, and you knew what you wanted to go after. You felt like this marriage or this relationship took away from a lot from you. You felt like you lost years of like your youth. You lost years of life that you could have been living. You probably got married way too young as well. I'm getting that sense in your past life. And you decided to completely overhaul your life. It's like you went through years and years of this marriage, and all of a sudden you were over it. You didn't want it anymore. You gained and gathered confidence to leave this person and run away. and you were able to step into your power. Well, where we see the Seek or the Hermit. You became so independent, reflective, and intelligent. I mean, it's not that you weren't, you were definitely intelligent and reflective, but you were able to build a life. I feel like you led, after you ran away from this person, I'm getting a sense that you led a very quiet life. You didn't let anyone know who you were. You kept your circle very, very close. And you like to spend, you just realized that you were actually most happy when you were alone. So then we have here Bridget, inner strength. Again, heart chakra, so interesting. Move back to wholeness. Recognize that you have the power. You recognize that you had the power. You recognize that you were strong, and you were, you know, you were empowered by yourself, and you didn't need a man to tell you what to do. I'm getting strong heart chakra. So I think you were a romantic. I think you were very sensitive. And that's what made you fall for this man, because I think when you were growing up in this past life, you felt like, you know, you romanticized relationships, and once you got into the relationship, you realized it's not what they were made out to be. But you were such an empath. You had such strong empathy powers, empathetic powers. I definitely sensing that you could have been a redhead, because the Queen of Wands always makes me think of redheads for some reason. And then we've got the Bridget, and she's like a fiery redhead here. But I'm also getting the sense that you could have ran away, and you could have been like a secret witch or something. Like I think you practiced witchcraft or something. And like the black cat is just like, I'm definitely getting, and even in this image, I'm getting the sense of like meditation, connecting with nature. I think you were like a witch in your past life. Um, Interesting. Let's see what else we have here. So we've got pose brave flight. You will not let fear stop you this time. You were so brave. You were a brave woman. Like, I think you ran away and made a life for yourself and became independent. And I don't mean like you made a life for yourself. I don't think you were super rich in this lifetime, but it's like I'm getting the sense of constantly traveling. Like even the kind of airplanes here, the birds. But you were so free. There's constant bird imagery here, continuation of bird imagery where you are free as a bird. It's almost like you were chained to this relationship, and all of a sudden you felt this freedom and you moved on, and you were such a brave person in your past lifetime, that's for sure. Then we've got Mercury retrograde, reinvention. You've reinvented yourself in your past life. Like you completely changed who you were. And we've got Grand Trine, blessings. And as like it was almost like a gift from the universe to you then when you reinvented yourself. I'm getting strong witch vibes. I don't know, guys. I really feel like you guys were a witch. You got all these blessings. You were able to manifest. You were able to, I feel like you brought these blessings onto yourself. Again, I'm not getting like strong sense of like you dying young or anything. So I think you were able to live a very long, prosperous life. It was a quiet life. It was secluded. It was not like lavish and you didn't make loads of money. You were not like this mad businesswoman. But I definitely think that it's almost like you broke out of shackles and you were able to live a very free life. You were free. Like the bird imagery is so intense in this pile. But I'm getting so excited because I am getting this sense of courage from this pile. And that's really beautiful. So that's what I have for you guys. Pile number 4. I'm going to move on to my next pile. Let me know if that resonated, what you thought. And we're going to move on to pile number 5. Pile number 5, let's see. Who were you in your past life? We've got 2 of Swords. We've got 4 of Swords in reverse. We've got the 7 of Pentacles in reverse. We've got Daydreams and Decisions, 7 of Cups. And Darkest Fears, we've got the 9 of Swords. Oh, another card. Sorry. You guys got loads of cards that fell out for you, actually. And we've got Blossom, which is the World card. Or is it the World card? Let me see. I'm just gonna check because I'm not very good with numbers for the major arcana. Sorry, it's the Judgment card. Interesting. Okay. Let me see. This is quite an interesting pile. I think in your past life it's almost like you constantly had to make decisions. There was constantly a need for you to be the decision maker, somebody who was in charge. You were definitely in charge of a lot of people. So you could have been like a business person, but there I also see you getting extremely overwhelmed. Like you got overwhelmed a lot in your past lifetime. I think your past life was very overwhelming. It was traumatic in a way, but it was more so like like I almost feel like this anxious energy here. It's like you constantly had to make decisions and change things, and things were never steady and stable. There was never any stability in your past life. um I feel like you could have been a farmer. I'm sensing that you were like a farmer. You worked a lot in nature. I'm getting like farmer energy here, even here. Um, I think, okay, this came through really quick. I think you were not quite like, you were quite a poor worker. I feel like you were like working class person. You could have been a farmer. You worked a lot in nature. And I feel like you had to make a choice. I feel like, I don't know why this is coming through. This is coming through so strongly. I feel like you had to give away like one of your daughters almost to like to marry them off or something in order to make money. And it gave you so much upset and anxiety. Maybe you gave them away to somebody quite abusive, but it's almost like you had no other choice. You had no other choice. And you were acting like you didn't know that this person was abusive. You acted like you didn't know that your daughter was going to suffer as a result. I feel like your daughter might have even died at the hands of this person. You tried to act like you were in denial, and you were almost delusional. Like you were delusional about the whole situation. Something happened in your past life where you were so delusional and you were so out of touch, even though you had all the details, you had all the facts, and you decided to go with it anyway because you wanted to gain and you wanted to advance in life, but it actually came back and ended up biting you in the ass basically, and it ended up giving you a lot more grief and sadness and than you thought it would. I'm sensing a lot of sadness in this pile. I think your past life was very difficult in terms of dealing with the decisions that you made in your past life are almost going to haunt you in this life. So there's a lot of karmic energy being carried over to your current life, and you might see things happening. Like you might be, it's like you live a good life now and you're doing everything correctly. You're doing everything good. You're doing everything with a good intention. And maybe things that are like bad luck just keep happening to you. And you're like, why is this happening to me? I feel like it's because of your past life that's being highlighted here. Let me see what else I can see. So I think you were more of a female energy I'm getting here. Love and acceptance. Love is yours. Recognize your divine worth. Choose loving thoughts. So I feel, okay, I'm getting a sense that you were a mother, and like in a way you were such a good mother though. That's what's kind of throwing me here. I think you were actually such a good nurturing mother. You were so good to your kid, but I feel like you buried a kid. Like I feel like you buried a kid, and the reason that this child died, okay, this might not even have anything to do with marrying the person off, but I got that message, so we're gonna go with that. But then I'm just getting this general sense that you were a mother who was a really good mother, very nurturing. You were always there for your children, but some sort of a decision, some sort of something that you decided to do and you didn't think about it properly and you just made a snap decision with, even though you had all the facts, you made the wrong decision, and it's almost like this child died at the hand, your hand, at your hands, basically. Like, it was almost like you didn't mean to kill them, you didn't mean for them to die, and I don't think like you technically even killed them. Like, I feel like they died because of a chain of choices that you made in this situation, and this might feel very heavy now. It might weigh very heavy now in this lifetime. I get a sense that in this lifetime you might even feel like you don't want to have kids, or you're reluctant to have kids because of this past life. Very heavy energy in this pile. And then we've got Elizabeth and the Lion. It is time to become a great leader. So again, I'm getting this sense that you were a leader. You could have been a queen in your past life, because we've got the Queen Elizabeth here. You could have been a queen, and it could have been the fact that maybe you sent your children to war, and you were the queen and you had no choice. They had to go to war. But I feel like it's more nuanced than that. I feel like decisions that you made led to your child being killed. It's almost like in your past life you failed to protect your kids. You failed, but you tried so hard. That's what I'm getting, though. You tried so hard to protect them. You were such a protective mother. You know what I'm getting the sense of? And this is a fictional character, but I'm getting a sense of like Cersei from Game of Thrones, if you guys watch Game of Thrones. It's that thing where, like, as in the book, she's told, like, you will love your kids dearly. You will really care about your kids, but each one of them will die. And, spoiler alert, and sure enough, she just loses her kids, even though she loves them and wants to protect them. She just can't help but keep losing them. And I'm really getting this sense here from this pile. Very interesting. So then we've got fourth house roots. Oh my god, children, mother energy. You were definitely a mother. Like, you were definitely, and mother, being a mother was a huge, like, it was part of your identity. It was, I think you were also very close to your own mother as well. So I feel like your relationships, your relationship with your current mother, like in your present lifetime, it could be strained even, because I feel like there was such a traumatic energy around being a mother in your past life. And then we've got 12th house, escape. So escapism, actually, I think you could have been maybe like an alcoholic. Substance abuse is coming through very strongly, but I see this sense of you being very delusional, not knowing the truth, not knowing the facts, even though having the facts laid out right in front of you. It's almost like you didn't want to see them in your past life. You didn't want to see them in your past life. You were very, very, very delusional in your past life, especially in terms of family. So that's kind of all that I can see here for you guys, pile number 5. Let me know if that resonated. Let me know what you thought. And I'm going to move on to my next pile. So pile number 6, let's see what or who were you in your past life? We've got the 4 of Wands in reverse, 10 of Swords in reverse. We've got Master, 15. What's Master? I'm trying to think. Is Master 15? I just need to check. So it's the Devil. Okay, the Devil. Interesting. And then we've got Reach Out, 3 of Pentacles. Okay. Let me see. What do I see? Okay. Okay, I definitely see that. I think you were stuck in an arranged marriage. I think a lot of the family, you were controlled by your family, especially the father. the father of your family, you were controlled by the father of the family that you grew up in your past life. He had very strong grip on you, to the point that you almost felt like there was no point in fighting him. Um, it was, I think you were put into an arranged marriage, and you didn't love the person that you were with at all. You didn't love them, even though I don't see the marriage actually being that bad. I feel like you had like a mediocre, it's almost like you weren't madly in love, but I also don't get a sense that they were like abusive or that they were bad to you. It's almost like they wanted it to work and you wanted it to work, but it wasn't working because neither of you were in love with each other. And I'm almost getting this sense of like feeling empty inside, completely empty, feeling like there was nobody there to fill that hole of emptiness in your life. You felt like defeated and like you couldn't really. And I do get a sense that you kind of fell a victim to an addiction because you were trying to fill that emptiness with an addiction. Another thing that I'm sensing, that you were almost forced to take over a business or to take over something within your family structure to do with money. At some point, it's like you didn't want to do it, but you had to do it. There was no choice. You had no choice in your past lifetime a lot of the time. Kind of on the regular, you had no choice in the matter. It's almost like the choices were always made for you. So in this lifetime, you might feel like very called to make your own decisions, and you might even have aversion to like authority or father figures in general. You might have a problem with authority in general in this lifetime because I feel like you didn't get to have a say in your own life in your past life. So I think you were a male. I'm getting that for sure. More so than a female in your past life. We've got the divine director, intervention, and purpose. Divine intervention is occurring. Know that you are being guided. Happiness is your purpose. So it's like, no matter the fact that you had everything decided for you, like it's almost like everything was decided for you before you were even an adult, because I'm getting this sense of like a young person here. Before you even got to be an adult and be able to make those decisions for yourself, you were just not able to. Once you were an adult, that's all you knew. You just knew that I feel like you took over a business or something, or you took over like the family trade. You were forced into a marriage with somebody because it was going to be good for the family. Everywhere you looked, you were shackled to something. You were imprisoned. And you were tired. You felt like you couldn't do anything about it. And it was your duty to carry this out. There was no way out almost. That's what I'm getting here. And then we've got 2 kittens. You must choose. So there was a choice that you had to make at some stage. So I feel like it's almost like there was, like you had no choice, and that's the way it was presented to you. But in reality, maybe a thought crossed your mind a couple of times. I could just run away. I could just leave this all behind and go and never look back. But you didn't do that. And it's almost like every single time that you thought about your life and how miserable you were in your life, you thought of that choice that you had. You had that little window where you could escape. But I do sense that in this lifetime, I think you're a bit more rebellious. You're very driven to make your own decisions, to be independent. And I don't think you like authority in this lifetime. I really get that sense. I do get the sense as well that like whoever you were married to, they were actually a really nice person. I just feel like you guys I feel like maybe you were even married to a woman, but you were like into men. I don't know why, because I feel like you were actually like, I don't know why I heard this. It's like I hear you having a good friendship with your wife. Like whoever you were married to, it's not like you hated each other. Not at all. I feel like you were friendly with each other. You just didn't love each other. Interesting. Then we got second house owning. So I think you were quite wealthy in the end, and almost like your wealth was what was shackling you to a certain lifestyle. And we've got Grand Cross Provoker. So I feel like, and I get the sense that it's almost like throughout your life you were provoked by your father especially. It's almost like just I dare you to disrespect me, or I dare you to try and get out of this marriage or owning this business. I dare you. I dare you. And he was always there niggling at you and, you know, being the one to lay down the law. I'm not getting a huge sense of like when you died. I do get a sense that it was kind of sooner rather than later. I don't think you lived to very old age. But I just don't think you died that young either. I feel like you died kind of like at your midlife basically mark. But I do get a sense that this lifetime was very difficult for you, and it's almost like you were chained down. I get a sense that you were chained down by who you wanted to love, and you were not allowed to love. Who you wanted to marry, you were not allowed to marry them. Who you wanted to be, how you wanted to work, where you wanted to work. None of that was possible because of that risk that if you left it, you would lose all the wealth that you had. And I think you were not ready in your past life to lose that wealth. So in this lifetime, I think you have an aversion to money or rich people. I'm getting that sense as well. So, you know, in this lifetime, you strive to look for a deeper meaning for things that you actually want to do, that your soul wants to do, rather than chasing the money. So that's what I have for you guys, pile number 6. Let me know if that resonated. Let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!